It's all right. Have a good time. Yep. What's up, people? I'm in here for the purpose of letting you know what is going on in our world tonight. I feel like a little Richard Pryor, uh, Reverend Pryor would say, he said, we are gathered here to pay homage to the dearly departed. He was dead and now he's departed. In other words, he's dead. I remember being a kid, man, and mom's having these blue party albums, and they used to hide them like we couldn't find them, right? Um, where my YouTube people at? Give me some heads up. I got to know what's going on with my YouTube. Anyway, um, we would find them, and we would wait till they leave or go outside or whatever, and we would huddle around the speakers of the stereo system, put it up just loud enough for us to hear, and somebody would be sitting by the window watching out. We call it watching the bus, right? Make sure that didn't get caught, because if we got caught, you knew we was in trouble. And I remember us having, what was that? The N World's Crazy? No, is it something I said? It was one of the first Richard Pryor albums when we were old enough to actually buy it ourselves. And ironically, it was our senior trip coming to Disney World. Imagine that. We had a bus trip from New Orleans to Disney World. And I think we just had one chaperone. Somebody that was in that class might remember, but I think we just had Miss Curley. And Miss Curley she was, I don't know if she was really naive, but she played the part really well. But Miss Curley taught chemistry and physics. I mean, not chemistry and physics. Yeah, chemistry and physics. Because Pouchon taught trig. Um, and it was kind of funny because she was wondering why all of this giggling was going on in the back of the bus. And she came to the back of the bus to find out what it was we were up to. You know, of course, it's high school. You already had your little partner kind of picked out who you was going to ride with. And girls was like, you going to sit with me? You going to sit with me? And since I didn't, quote unquote, have a girlfriend, I was trying to figure out who I was going to sit next to. And one of the ladies is married now. We still friends. So I don't want to call out her name, but she was one of the prettiest girls in school. Um, but I was just kind of moving around the bus, because I wanted to hear the album. I hadn't heard the album. And that was at the top of my list of things to do. And ironically, I think it was one of the girls that bought the tape on the bus. So we're listening to this, and he talks about when Miss Curley comes to the back of the bus, he's talking about the ninjas with the biggest in the world. And he said they were looking for a place to have their convention, and there wasn't no freaks because they didn't want everybody to be looking. And they were walking across the Golden Gate Bridge and looking at all that water. He said, I got to pee. I was gonna say, I got to pee too. So first one pulled it out and he said, God damn, the water's cold. I was gonna say, yeah, and it's deep too. And we all bust out laughing. And Miss Curley didn't get it. She was like, what did I said, Miss Curley, think about it. If they got the biggest D's in the world and they're standing on the Golden Gate Bridge and he says the water's cold, she said, oh, that's nasty. And she went to the front of the bus She didn't make us cut it off, but So shout out to Brother Pra. It is what it is. We had some good times back at George Washington Carver Senior High. So how's everybody doing? How y'all doing? Let me go ahead and get the show started. Like I said, Biden has a little address that he's doing. It's kind of political in nature, but it is what it is. Come on in, take your seat, pull off your helmet, stop licking the windows and chewing those, you know, sure you're not shot. So, uh, some of the women I know, I'm looking at one right now, a high yellow girl from the Southern War in New Orleans. She's so short she could be a hand puppet. But I ain't calling out no names. Hey, I dated a girl so short she I used to sit on the dashboard, her head go like that. When I ain't, no jokes tonight. I got jokes. Okay, I'm gonna behave. I'm gonna behave. I'm gonna go ahead and start the show. Folks, I'm in a good mood. Maybe you couldn't tell, but I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. I want to say good evening and welcome to the show. As always, I always start off the show by saying thank you for spending your Thursday night with me. Of all the things you could be doing, the fact that you come here week in, week out for the last 3 years now, folks. I've been doing this podcast for 3 years now. You come here every Thursday night religiously to hear my analyses, to hear me rant, to hear me rave, to hear me talking about what's right, what's wrong, how to fix the things that don't make sense, how to make this shit that don't make sense make sense. And when you do that, because you've done it for the last 3 years, I'm truly humbled. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Just in case you don't know, my name is Hank Batiste. I'm your host tonight. My show is called OMITDALOGIC. This shit makes no sense. But every week, I seek to make it make sense. I'm going to break it down to it's unfixably broke. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head, they're ready, they're poised, and they're down for whatever. What's going to happen in the next few days? We got about 68 days, folks. 68 days. 68 days. Think about that. That's 2 months. The month of September has 30 days. The month of October has 31 days. There's 61 days right there. And then we got 7 days till November the 1st. So before I go any further, I'm going to say, hey, welcome to September. Even though I don't think we're going to, I think we're supposed to stay on daylight saving time, but the time will definitely change. The days will definitely start to get shorter, and it's apparent even here in Florida. So I'm poised, I'm prepped, I'm primed, I'm proper, I'm ready, I'm down for whatever. The primary elections are showing so much promise that I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I, I feel like I'm Mm, 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 mm. Biden has been listening to my podcast. I feel like Biden has really been listening to my podcast, and the president is starting to lead by executive order. If you've been listening to me week in, week out, every week I said that despite what Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and these other Democrats do, you're the head, you're the face of the Democratic Party. You're the person that we hold responsible. So I said he needed to stop waiting on them to get on board and do what he felt he needed to do and keep the promises that he made on the campaign trail. I'm really concerned about my YouTube. I'm not seeing anybody there. I saw somebody earlier. So, I know a couple of you. Don't make me call you out, Freckles. Go to my YouTube for me and make sure I'm coming through all the while treetop tall. I'm getting some feedback on my equipment, but my usual YouTube people are not there now, so they might just be doing whatever. They may be starting the Labor Day early, but I'll since I've been so controversial, let me just go off on a tangent right quick. Since I've been so controversial, since I've been on Nancy Pelosi, since I've been on Donald Trump, since I've been on Chuck Schumer, since I've been on Joe Manchin, since I've been on about accountability and oversight and getting in everybody ass that's not doing what I feel like they need to do as an elected official, YouTube has been doing a pause on my show. So there's like a 5 minute delay on my show on YouTube. And sometimes some of the things that I say, they may not agree with. So censorship is there's a blue, there's so I want to make sure that my YouTube people, I've been encouraging you people to get in. And I understand why YouTube is doing what they're doing because they're trying to build a network. So they're certainly not going to let somebody like me bring that down for as in network, even cable TV has censorship of some sort. So they want to make sure that this product that I'm putting out is a noteworthy, newsworthy, and not incendiary. You understand? I'm not inciting people to riot and what have you. So I understand why they're doing what they're doing. But if you know me, I'm gonna say what I have to say. But I'm just not a violent person. So, getting back to the matter at hand, we're closing in on the elections, folks. And though it's not a done deal, the Dems, the DIMS, because until they learn how to govern and they lead as a group, they're going to continue to be DIMs. And I call them the DIMs because the light is on, but I'm not sure that they're all there. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody, I love it when folks get the assignment and follow the assignment. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, girl. Ah, I'm a fool. I know. I know. I'm a plumb total fool. But this is what I've been screaming for 2 years now. What we need to do, what Biden need to do, what these Democrats need to do, and understand this. Um, I'm not quote unquote a Democrat. I'm not quote unquote a Republican. I'm certainly not a Republican, nor am I an independent. I'm an independent thinker. And unfortunately, for the last 4 or 5 elections, we've been having to pick the lesser of two evils. And it's like anything else, we're not getting exactly what we want. We're not getting totally what we need, but we have to make it work. It's like playing spades. You've got to play the hand that you dealt. And I use that analogy because some of y'all think y'all could play spades. But we're closing in on the election. And though it's not a done deal, these Dems have a chance to hold on and increase their lead in both the House and the Senate. So it's up to us to keep on doing what we're doing. There's been enough people, either like minded like me, enough people listening to my show, because the good side about YouTube is they're sending my show to people that I don't know. So when some people search for this, that, or the other, they're being exposed to what it is I have to say. So you take the bitter with the sweet. It's a pretty good lemonade. Um, we have a chance. We have a chance, and that's what gives me so much promise. That's what has me so hyped. It's not a done deal. Don't get me wrong. But back in January, back in July, back last year, this time, things were looking very bleak, people. Very bleak. It was almost a foregone conclusion that we're going to lose the House and probably the Senate as well. If we pick up a couple more seats, and there's about 5 or 6 states that are up for grabs in the Senate, and if we pick up 3 of 4 of those seats, then Joe Manchin could do it whatever the hell Joe Manchin wants to do. And when he's not behaving like a Democrat, what we can do is cut off that Democratic money. You understand what I'm saying? There's a war chest that everybody gets to participate in if they are a Democrat and running for office. And right now, they've been holding on to Manchin and Sinema to keep a numbers majority, but they haven't had a Democrat majority in the Senate. All of the things that Biden is starting to do now, be it the Inflation Act and giving money back and some of the infrastructure that is he's passed and now starting to do something for student loan forgiveness. Just imagine where we would be had Nancy Pelosi got those Democrats together in the House. Just imagine where we would be if Chuck Schumer could have put pressure on Manchin and Sinema and passed a lot of these acts, a lot of these laws. The reason they're jumping on board now is because Biden is doing what I said he should do. He's saying, bump you. If you're not going to play by my rules, I'm going to do it by executive order. The downside to that is if a president does something, you saw Nancy Pelosi, you saw some of the Republicans stand up and say, well, that's illegal. He doesn't have the authority to do that. Well, Pelosi, you don't have the authority to be trading on Wall Street, but you're doing it. It's a conflict of interest, but you're doing it. So how dare you have the audacity to your president in the public? Okay, I'm not going to go off on that tangent. Okay. What's starting to happen, they're getting on board because now that Biden is doing what he's doing, he's starting to become more popular. His approval ratings are rising, which means the American people are showing favoritism towards the president. Had he done what I said do, had he been leading by executive order all along, the American people would have always been on his side and Congress would have been forced to follow his lead. That's where we are now. Okay. Other thing, going down the list here, and this is supposed to be an introduction, huh? God damn, bro, why you so long with this? Mar-a-Lago gave Despicable Donnie a political shot in the arm, but it may also prove to be his political Waterloo. Waterloo was Napoleon was supposed to be this great general and blah, 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 blah. I always give you a historical perspective, so here it is. Napoleon was this great military strategist and leader. And it wasn't until his Waterloo that he had issues and he was defeated. But nobody talks about this black general named Hannibal who took elephants over the Alps and came up on Napoleon's rear. Think about that. Okay, anyway, let's move on. So I say this could be Despicable Donnie's political Waterloo simply because Sarah Palin decided to jump on the Donald Trump boat, and she was defeated in Alaska by a young Democrat. To go from a vice presidential nominee to try to run for office and be an Alaskan governor, and now to see your political career die on the frozen tundra of Alaska, oh, for me, it's bittersweet. Sarah Palin was the original Herschel Walker. She was dumber than a bag of nails. At least nails have a purpose. Here in Florida, we have so much promise. We have Val Demings. And I keep saying this. Some of you folks don't really know who Val Demings is, but she's this black woman from the state of Florida who's serving now as a U.S. representative in the House of Representatives. And she made a name for herself interrogating people during the two impeachment trials for Trump. So it shows that she's going to be running for governor. No, I'm sorry. I'm playing. Everybody that backs DeSantis say no, no, she's not running for governor. Charlie Crist is running for governor. She's running for U.S. Senate. So she's one of those people that can help to turn the tide in the Senate. You understand? So we still have a chance of making this red state of Florida at least purple, if not blue. And to add fuel to the fire, there's a 25-year-old man by the name who won the Democratic primary. So he may be the youngest Generation Z, Zorro, member of Congress. What makes this so plausible is he has Cuban descent. Now, historically, here in the state of Florida, most Cubans vote Republicans. But they're going to vote for their own countryman. So stay tuned. McCarthy came out the real woodwork this week. He came out the woodwork when Biden called the Trump Republicans fascists. He said they wanted to take us back in time to a time when there was no legal abortions, there were no rights and so forth and so on. And suddenly McCarthy, who we haven't seen, he's been keeping his head down because they're looking at calling him. Because if you remember, Kevin McCarthy was the one who Trump called on the evening of January the 6th and said, stop the count. Stop Pence. Do not give the microphone to Pence. And McCarthy said, you don't know the F you talking to. And then on January the 21st, after Trump left the White House, somewhere around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, he went down to kiss Trump's ring. So we have all these wishy-washy people. It is what it is. Folks, last week I called this 3 quarters. I said game on. Now we're down to 68 days. That's 2 months and 8 days, folks. I'm sorry, 2 months and 7 days now. So tonight's show is actually called Against All Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. My name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITDALOGIC. This shit makes no sense, but let's make sense of it. Let's do this. I call this first segment, Annie Get Your Gun. Lindsey, Annie Get Your Gun. Graham. Lindsey, Annie Get Your Gun had the audacity to say on the 29th or Monday, he had the audacity to say there will be riots in the street, or he predicted that there will be riots in the street if Trump is prosecuted or arrested. And I said, this was the same one who said it was a nice ride, just like McCarthy. He says a nice ride, but, the train is leaving the station, or some vernacular similar to that. And now he's been so far up, they should call him Preparation H. So Graham insinuated that Trump is above the law. He all but said it directly, and that he should not be prosecuted. He should be treated differently than any other president because he's not like any other president. Fuck out of here. Despite his predictions of riots and what have you, Republican and Trump-Publican judges in the state of Georgia are saying that Graham still has to appear before this panel and give a deposition on what he knows and the calls that he helped to make to get Trump those 16,000 and 17,001 votes that it needed, that he needed, or that he wanted to cheat Biden out of the state of Georgia. Now, let me just tell you one more thing. Lindsey Graham represents the state of South Carolina. I was starting to say he has visions of grandeur and representing the state of oblivion, but I won't go there. So he's going to have to testify, folks. He's going to have to give a deposition. He's going to have to go on record, and he can't hide behind his skirt of Congress. Moving on. This whole Mar-a-Lago thing has been the good, the bad, and the ugly. The reason I says it can be Trump's Waterloo is because Republican candidates like Sarah Palin are starting to see that following this Trump thing, they are falling by the wayside, and they're not guaranteed in some states, mind you. Despite redistricting, they're still being voted out. They're still losing races. So they see this political shift because the number one concern to voters in 3 different polls that I researched in Americans today is the threat of democracy as we know it. And that has been the deciding factor. So the more outlandish, despicable, delusional Donnie's shenanigans become, the more Republicans are starting to drift away from him. Silently, but drift away nonetheless. When they found out that there were love letters to Putin and Kim Jong-un, because this man wants to be a dictator. He wants to be like North Korea. He wants to be like Russia. So he looks up to these people. He looks at how they, for lack of a better word, lead as dictators. And he emulates that. He tries to imitate that. He proved it with that attempted coup. So I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I started looking at this thing with Biden, and I'm still doing some research on it. But his student loan forgiveness, initially, I said 10,000 is nothing. I've got 2 masters, folks, and an undergrad. And I got off easy because some of the places I work for paid for some of my education, and I paid some of my education out of pocket. But even with that, I still had over $81,000 in student loans. When I took a sabbatical and I went back to Florida State, I did a master's program in 1 year. In 4 semesters, I finished my master's. But during that time, I took a forbearance, which basically means they don't forgive. They just put your loans on the back burner. I thought that everything was cool. At the end of that 1 year, when I finished school, that 81,000 turned into over 101,000. So how you going to give me a forbearance and then tack interest on it when you told me what you were going to do was take those payments, those 12 payments, and add them to the end of the loan. So I don't have to pay them. And this is why I was trying to hurry up and finish school so that I could get back and have my employer help pay for my education. If you want me as an employee, then you have to invest in me. And how you invest in me is help me pay off some of this ridiculous nonsense. If you want me to have a master's and I show up with a master's and you say I'm in the top 1% of my profession, then you have to reward me as such. But then Nelnet, Annie Mae, and all these other people. So I was talking about $10,000. Forgiveness is nothing. That's not even 10% of 101. But then I did a little research, and according to Bank of America, in this UPI story I read, 50% of Americans have $10,000 or less in student loans. I don't know what school they went to. I really don't know what school they went to. So 50% of people would automatically be forgiven as long as they make under 125,000 a year. Households that make under 250,000 will be $20,000 would be forgiven. An additional 10,000 if you got a Pell Grant based on being underprivileged or not making enough money. So the $10,000 really could be $30,000. So it started to make sense. And as soon as America started buying into this, all of those people that was talking about how illegal this, and let's get this straight right now, it's not a done deal because they could still challenge this. The Republicans and Pelosi could still challenge this in this court of law and say that Biden is superseding his authority to do so. And then it would be up to public opinion and a judge. But public opinion is with Biden on this. So chances are everybody's not going to, this close to the election, nobody wants to piss off the public. So all along I've been saying, lead by executive order. As president, that's the best way of leading by example. And if you do so, people are going to follow you. So, folks, we have got, say it with me, 68 days, 30 days or 29 days left in the month of September, 31 days in the month of October, and then we count down to November the 8th. Stay with me, people. I know you guys are full. I know you guys are super saturated. I know you guys are inundated and tired of hearing this foolishness. I want to be able to talk about Black love. I want to be able to talk about relationships. I want to be able to talk about interracial love. I want to be able to. Somebody told me that they were biracial. I said, "What does that mean?" They said, "Oh, my mama was white, my daddy was black." I said, "Why does black racial, a biracial, automatically mean black and white? Can't you be like Mexican and Cuban? Is that not biracial?" So I want to address things like this because I think it's what affects how we think. Because these are some of the tools that they use to separate us. Me, I'm about love who you love. My mama had a simple philosophy. If you like them, I love them. You're the one that have to deal with them. So, folks, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to get out of here so you guys can go listen to what Biden has to say. Add insult to injury, it's supposed to be on cable and streaming services, but don't know if the networks are going to pick it up yet. But Biden is going to be talking tonight, and some of it is going to be politically based because We've got an election year. How many days was that? You're right. 67 days in a wake up. That's how we used to say it in the Marine Corps. I'm so short I can play handball on the curb. Well, that's where we are now, folks. So stick with me. Hang in there. I'll see you next week. Same Baptist time, same Baptist place. We're getting there, folks. Before you know it, we're going to show these people that we're not powerless. We're going to show these people that they got to give the people what they want. We're going to show these people that when it comes to leadership, you will be held accountable. We will provide oversight because just like we voted your ass in, we can vote your ass out. We can recall elections. And these are going to be some of the things that we talk about after the election, after we take back the Senate. Because right now, it's teeter-tottering. After we increase the lead in the Senate, after we increase the lead in the House of Representatives, after we replace Nancy Pelosi and get a Speaker of the House that's going to be more concerned with running the country than trading on Wall Street, after we get somebody other than a Chuck Schumer who can get the people in Congress and the people in the Senate together. See you next week. It's always important to wish you love. I wish you peace. And like your man, even with a sunroof and my afro, I wish you had grease, baby. I love you. Ain't a damn thing you could do about it. See you next week, folks. I'm out of here.